Hi, this is Felice Sloan with Swanky Maven.
I'm David Leftwich, editor of Edible Houston and associate editor at Houston Food Finder.
I'm Eric Sandler, editor for Culture Map. So, David and Felice, it's been a while since we have talked about restaurants in Montrose and Midtown. And really, the only problem with doing this is that Montrose and Midtown are so dense with restaurants that we're not even going to come close to getting through all of the places that I think we should probably talk about.
No. I would agree. I would agree.
So I agree. There's too many places. So let's just get started.
Candente. Hey, Candente. That's like one of all of our favorites. I know Eric and I have gone so many times. It is the perfect blend of my love of barbecue and Tex-Mex. Like, if they had a baby, it would be Candente. It's their love child.
Right. And since we're talking about Candente, we should also talk about the Pit Room, which is their
right
barbecue
there.
restaurant
Yep.
next door that's Offset Smokers. It's been on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And then we might as well complete the trio and mention Andiron, their luxurious steakhouse that opened last year up by Allen Parkway. Live fire cooking, really luxurious Japanese beef, caviar souffle, like great wine list, all the things that make for a memorable steakhouse experience.
And they're all right there. Right there.
Yeah, so let's stay in Montrose and let's kind of stay on the. I mean, I'm torn between classics and new, but let's go place new, hopefully. And I'm going to start with El Ro, which is this great place from Terrence Galvin, who was it's newish. It opened last year, but it's got, besides having great wallpaper, it's got great pizzas, got crudo, very good classic, good cocktails, just a good kind of upscale casual is maybe the way to put it, but it's a good fun place to go. It's in a classic Montrose bungalow. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, since you mentioned a newish Montrose restaurant that has great pizza, let me mention Ostia. This is Travis McShane's restaurant on Dunleavy. They have pastas, they have pizza, especially at lunch and brunch, and they have arguably the best roast chicken in Houston.
Yes, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful on a beautiful day. Sit outside. Keep it moving. I'm going to go with seafood because I love seafood. I'm going to give you two because we're going to give you Clark's Oyster Bar out of Austin. And this falls under Montrose a little bit. A lot of these fall under Montrose. I don't consider it Montrose, but Houston does. Little's falls under the Montrose area just because of the lines. So you got Little's and Clark's, and you're going to get similar experiences. Nice vibe, caviar, oysters. You can go for brunch, lunch, dinner. Expect to wait. So it's a good problem when a restaurant has a wait for lunch. But it's a great vibe.
So we've talked about some new places. I'm going to throw out a casual classic place at this point, and that's Blacksmith. It's always a great place for coffee. I mean, I always kind of associate Montrose with kind of going, like hanging out at casual places, coffee shops. So this is become a classic coffee shop, great breakfast, great coffee. You can go for lunch, fun casual spot.
Well, since you gave me a classic coffee shop, let me give us a new coffee shop. Citizens of Montrose. This is on Lower Westheimer, right near the intersection with Montrose. It's Australian inspired, as in its owners are Australian. It comes to us from New York City. I just like that you can go in there, you get full service, right? A sit down breakfast with a server to bring you your meal. They have cocktails. They have great coffee. It's just warm in there. It feels good in there. It's a place I've been to several times and really enjoyed.
I'm going to go classic breakfast, Midtown Breakfast Club, right? You can't go wrong. People are like the lines. There always is going to be a line, but here is an insider tip. If you're going during the week, early in the morning, you're in and out. Like, right, kind of early, it's...
Yeah. By early, you mean before 8 a.m., right? If you get there
right when they open,
maybe 8:30, the line will be short, it'll move fast, and they'll have you in and out.
In and out, yep.
But there was nothing funnier to me than seeing People drive past the Breakfast Club and go, "Oh, they have this huge line. It's the Keith Lee effect." No. I mean, he did good stuff for some restaurants around town. The Breakfast Club line was like that long before Keith Lee, and will be like that long after the Keith Lee effect is worn off.
It's been like that before Keith Lee was even born. Well, hasn't been around that long, but you know what I'm saying, right?
You know, one of the things I really like about Midtown and Montrose is that there are just a ton of Chinese restaurants of all different kind of specialties, right? Like you have Sichuan restaurants. I'm thinking about Spicy Girl and, of course, Mala Sichuan and Cooking Girl. But then you can get dim sum at Taste of Mulan in Midtown, and you can get really great classic Chinese barbecue like roast pork, roast duck at Sulap City. And you know, we talk about all these cool chef-driven places, but I don't think we always acknowledge like how much cool Chinese food there is in this part of Houston.
Well, and of course, there's also great Vietnamese food in this part of town, too. So there's places like in Midtown, you've got classics like Cali sandwich and pho, which is great, a great banh mi. You've got Fian sandwiches, which is another great classic in that part of town. I mean, everybody's probably got a favorite, what are their favorite Vietnamese in the area?
Yeah, I mean, I like pho Saigon. For a bowl of soup and a spring roll on a cold day.
So another one that I think is a lovely restaurant, Graffiti Raw, and they've recently opened up for their brunch. It's great vibes. It's a beautiful restaurant. Great. Some of the offerings I love, like they have crab rice. You can get Eric, I know you love their burger. You can get a burger. You can get seafood. You can get salad, so good. That's a good one. I like that one.
You know, one of the newer places that we've talked about, I think, on the show a little bit is Katami. This is the new sushi restaurant from the team behind Kata Robata. Texas Monthly just called it the best new restaurant to open in the state last year, so congratulations to Chef Hori and the whole team on that. But you're going for fish that's flown in from Japan, Japanese beef, a huge sake list, and everything that goes along with that. It's just this is not an inexpensive proposition. This is definitely a splurge for most people, but just a really elegant experience.
Yeah, it's very good. They've been flying their ice from Japan for the excellent shaved ice dessert. So let's jump back to Midtown. There's too many places and too much geography to cover almost. I like Winnie's, which is just, you know, we've talked about Winnie's before, but it's, you know, great sandwiches, great bar, great cocktails. They've got a great po' boy. You know, it's just a great casual vibe, a nice patio now that the weather is quickly warming up.
Well, and since you mentioned Winnie's, I think we should mention Josephine's Gulf Coast Tradition, which is another kind of Gulf Coast-inspired seafood restaurant. Again, po' boys, but also boiled seafood, especially it's crawfish season now. That'd be a stop for me.
I'm gonna go favorite. It's a classic now because it's been here a little bit during the pandemic. Blue Norn. Can't forget the Blue Norn. Can't forget the Blue Norn. It's gonna give everything it needs to give. Service, wine, the specials. You're gonna get a nice evening. And if you don't have reservations, insider tip, sit at the bar, have your nice evening, and they have a wonderful brunch as well.
You know, one of the things I do want to mention is this neighborhood, Montrose specifically, has some of my favorite fast casual restaurants. Playing a place I can go either for dinner, a quick, relatively affordable dinner with a friend, or by myself. Of course, number one on that list for me is Polly's. This is the very classic counter service Italian restaurant. I'm going for stuff like their bolognese. I add meatballs. Their amatriciana is spicy, and they make absolutely no apologies for it, nor should they. Those great decorated shortbread cookies. And then the one other one I just want to mention is Romano's New York-style pizzeria on West Gray. It is the closest to my experience of having a New York slice anywhere in Houston, partially because of just the way the pizza tastes. It's a big foldable slice, but also just because of the decor and the staff and everything. It feels very New York in there, and sometimes that's exactly what you want.
All right. Well, you were
was
talking
thinking about
about
that.
some kind of classic fast casuals. Let's talk about one of Houston, a classic kind of nicer restaurant in Montrose, and that's Hugo Ortega's, and Tracy Vaught's classic Mexican restaurant. Kind of really kicked off a focus on interior Mexican food in Houston, and a lot of chefs who have worked for him now have opened their own restaurants. It's a great place to sit at the bar, have a margarita, have some of their great appetizers. It's a great place for a group. It's, the brunch is great. So, it's just a classic Houston restaurant, and, it's a great place to take people from out of town who want to kind of experience some of the best of Houston. So, it's still a Montrose classic.
I'm going to put on one of my favorite classics, the Gypsy Poet. I always talk about, I'm not a big pizza person, but I'm going to go with the Pepperoni Madness, all about that with that hot honey. If you don't go for any other reason, but they have a great patio. It's just a good vibe.
If we talk about Montrose and Midtown and we don't at least mention Brennan's of Houston, I always say there's people who are listening to the show for the first time. Maybe they're new to Houston, and then there are people who listen to the show to get angry about the places we don't talk about. Both of them are well served by my mentioning Brennan's. This is a very classic Creole fine dining restaurant. Turtle soup, snapper pontchartrain, steaks, seafood, banana foster for dessert, and it's just so classic. It's just so warm. The service is so great. It's so consistent. It's a place you can go again and again.
Well, since we've been talking about some classics, let's jump back to a new place. And it seems like, we keep talking about lots of good pizzas. And so No-No's, which is also mentioned their other restaurants, the Toasted Coconut and Nobi's are all great. And No-No's is their newest, which is just, the Chicago thin crust, Chicago-style tavern pizza, but also don't skimp on the sides. A great Caesar salad, great mozzarella sticks, a fun environment. It's kind of like a update on a Pizza Hut from the 80s or 90s, but it's a lot of fun. It's a fun place to go with some great food.
So we're going to go, classic, still a line. People still love it. Uchi is still up there. People are still loving it. One of my favorite sushi places in Houston. I still am not going to wait. I still go right before they open and get in that early line and go.
Right,
with
and the reason people line up and go early is because their happy hour is a freaking steal.
Correct. Yes, it's worth it.
Look, I mean, we've gone through. I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's so much more to talk about, and that's the beauty of dining in Montrose and Midtown is you sort of have infinite choices. I mean, we haven't mentioned any of the great cocktail bars or some of the other new places or
some other classics.
Yeah,
I mean, there's and people are
So again,
so don't get mad at us. This
right.
is what we're trying to say.
We're sorry to March and La Guadalupana and
Real,
Aladdin and Riel and everything else. We did Burger Joint and everything else. Christie's Donuts. I could do this forever. We could have done an hour on this. We could do 3 of these in back to back months and not scratch the surface of everything in Montrose.
Hi, this is Felice Sloan with Swanky Maven.
I'm David Leftwich, editor of Edible Houston and associate editor at Houston Food Finder.
I'm Eric Sandler, editor for Culture Map, and you're listening to Houston Matters with Craig Cohen.